The Galactic Dominion had ruled the stars for 500 years. They had conquered 3,000 worlds. They had crushed every species that dared to resist them. Their fleets were legendary. Their weapons were terrifying. No civilization had ever defeated them in battle. Fleet Commander Torak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Time's Eternal Conquest **. He was old for his kind, with gray skin marked by scars from 40 successful invasions. He had personally led the subjugation of 12 worlds. He had never known failure. Today, he would add another world to the Dominion's collection. A small blue planet called Earth. "Commander," said his navigation officer, "we will reach the target system in 6 hours." Torak nodded slowly. He looked at the tactical display showing his armada. 800 warships. Heavy cruisers with plasma cannons that could melt cities. Troop carriers holding millions of soldiers. Bombardment vessels that could crack a planet's surface. It was the largest fleet he had ever commanded. Some of his officers thought it was too much. Earth was classified as a Level 2 civilization. That meant primitive technology, chemical rockets, simple projectile weapons, radio communications. The Dominion's scouts had observed them decades ago. The humans were divided into many nations that fought each other constantly. They had not even colonized their own moon properly. But Torak was careful. He had learned long ago that careful commanders lived longer. He would use overwhelming force and finish this quickly. "Send the subjugation decree," he ordered. "All detected languages. Standard terms." The communications officer worked at his console. "Transmitting now, Commander." The message was simple. "Surrender immediately. Accept Dominion rule. Resist and be destroyed." Every species received the same message. Most surrendered within hours. The smart ones, anyway. Torak settled into his command chair and waited for the humans to respond. On Earth, the moon was bright over the city of Seoul. It was a quiet night. People walked through the streets. Restaurants were full. Children were sleeping in their beds. No one looked up at the sky with worry. No one knew that 800 alien warships were coming to enslave them, but some people knew. Deep beneath the city, in a facility that did not exist on any map, Captain Yuna stared at her display screen. She was young for her rank, only 32 years old. She had short black hair and tired eyes. She had been working for 14 hours. But she was not going home tonight. "Contact confirmed," she said into her communicator. 800 vessels. Dominion configuration. They will enter the solar system in 6 hours. The voice that responded was calm and steady. "Understood, Captain. I am activating all defense protocols. Report to the command center immediately." "Yes, General." Yuna stood up and took a deep breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of secrets. 50 years of building weapons that the rest of the world knew nothing about. She walked quickly through the underground corridors. Security doors opened for her automatically. She passed other officers moving with purpose, but without panic. Everyone knew their role. Everyone had trained for this. The command center was a massive room filled with screens and consoles. Officers sat at stations monitoring every part of Earth's defense network. At the center of it all stood General Do-hyun. He was in his 60s, with gray hair cut short and a face like stone. He had spent his entire career building Earth's secret defenses. He had sacrificed everything for this mission. Family, friends, a normal life. All of it given up to protect humanity from the threat that was now arriving. "Captain Yuna," he said as she approached. "What is their formation?" "Standard Dominion invasion pattern, sir. Vanguard of 50 heavy cruisers. Main fleet following in a wide spread. They are not expecting resistance." General Do-hyun almost smiled. Almost. They never do. He turned to the main screen, which showed the solar system. Red dots marked the approaching fleet, just passing the orbit of Neptune. Blue dots marked Earth's hidden defense platforms. There were hundreds of them. On the Moon, in orbit around Earth, hidden among the asteroids, disguised as dead satellites, the aliens thought Earth was primitive. They thought humans still used chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They were wrong. They were very, very wrong. Open a channel to all defense stations, General Do-hyun ordered. Authorization code. Sunfire. Around the world, in hidden bases on every continent, officers received the code. Weapons systems that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Satellites that looked like space junk unfolded into deadly platforms. The far side of the Moon revealed arrays of directed energy weapons, powerful enough to cut through any armor. Humanity was ready. 6 hours later, the Dominion fleet entered the solar system. Commander Torak watched the blue planet grow larger on his screen. It was beautiful, he admitted. Blue oceans. Green and brown land. White clouds. It would make a fine addition to the Dominion. The humans would work in the mines and factories. Their world would produce resources for the Empire. Any response to our decree? He asked. No, Commander. Complete silence. Torak frowned. That was unusual. Most species responded immediately, either with surrender or with desperate threats. Silence was rare. They are probably fighting among themselves, suggested his second officer, trying to decide which of their nations will negotiate. Primitive species are always disorganized. Perhaps, Torak said, but something felt wrong. He had conquered many worlds. He had developed instincts for danger. And right now, those instincts were telling him to be careful. Send the vanguard forward, he ordered. 50 cruisers. Destroy one of their orbital stations as a demonstration. That will encourage them to respond. The vanguard moved ahead of the main fleet. 50 heavy cruisers, each one capable of destroying a city with a single shot. They accelerated toward Earth. Weapons charging. On Earth, Lieutenant Jiwoo watched them come. She was stationed on Aegis 7, an orbital defense platform that looked like a simple space station. She was 28 years old. With long black hair tied back and steady hands, she had trained for this moment for 5 years. She was not afraid. 50 contacts approaching, she reported to General Do-hyun. They are targeting this station. Weapons are charging. Understood, Lieutenant. The general replied. Activate Protocol Sunfire on my command. Yes, sir. Jiwoo watched her display. The alien ships were getting closer. She could see their weapons glowing with energy. In a few seconds, they would fire. They would try to destroy her station, and everyone on it. But they would not succeed. Protocol Sunfire, General Do-hyun said. Activate. Jiwoo pressed the button, and across the Earth's orbital network, humanity showed its true strength for the first time. The Dominion had ruled the stars for 500 years. They had never been defeated. They had never known fear. That was about to change. The 50 Dominion cruisers fired their weapons at the same moment. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space toward Aegis 7. Each torpedo carried enough energy to vaporize a mountain. The alien gunners were already celebrating. In seconds, the human station would be nothing but dust. Lieutenant Jiwoo watched the torpedoes approach on her screen. She felt calm. Her heart was steady. She had complete faith in the technology that Earth scientists had built. The torpedoes reached the halfway point between the cruisers and the station. Then they stopped. They did not slow down. They did not turn. They simply stopped moving, hanging in space like frozen stars. On the lead Dominion cruiser, the weapons officer stared at his display. Commander, the torpedoes have stopped. I do not understand. There is no shield, no energy barrier. They just stopped. The cruiser commander leaned forward. That is impossible. Fire again. They fired another volley. 20 more torpedoes screamed toward the station, and 20 more torpedoes stopped in exactly the same place, joining the others in a frozen cluster. "What is happening?" the commander demanded. "What are they doing?" He never got an answer. From Aegis, 7 and 12 other platforms hidden in Earth's orbit, beams of light lanced out. They were not like any weapon the Dominion had ever seen. They did not burn or explode. They simply erased. The first beam hit the lead cruiser. One moment the ship was there, a massive vessel of metal and fire. The next moment it was gone. Not destroyed, not broken apart. Gone. Every atom scattered into nothing. The second beam hit another cruiser. Then the third. Then the fourth. In 2.3 seconds, all 50 Dominion cruisers ceased to exist. Lieutenant Jiwoo let out a breath. Her hands were shaking now. She had just witnessed the deaths of thousands of alien soldiers. She had helped kill them. It was necessary. She knew. It was them, or us. But it was still a heavy thing. "Vanguard eliminated," she reported. "All 50 contacts destroyed. No survivors." In the command center beneath the Himalayas, General Do-hyun nodded slowly. "Good work, Lieutenant. Stand by for Phase 2. Captain Yuna stood beside him, watching the main display. The red dots that marked the 50 cruisers had disappeared. The frozen torpedoes were now drifting harmlessly in space. And the main Dominion fleet had stopped moving. "They are trying to understand what happened," Yuna said. "They cannot believe it." "They will believe it soon enough," General Do-hyun replied. On the flagship Times Eternal Conquest *, Commander Torak stared at empty space where his vanguard had been. 50 ships, gone. Not destroyed in battle. Not damaged and retreating. Simply gone. In less than 3 seconds. "Report," he said. His voice was quiet. Dangerous. His sensor officer was trembling. "Commander, the Vanguard has been eliminated. All 50 ships. I am detecting no debris, no escape pods, no distress signals. It is as if they never existed. What weapon did this?" I do not know, Commander. The energy readings do not match any weapon in our database. The beam appears to have disrupted matter at the atomic level. Complete disintegration." Torak gripped the arms of his command chair. His claws dug into the metal. This was not possible. Earth was a Level 2 civilization. They had chemical rockets, primitive nuclear weapons. They should not have technology like this. No one should have technology like this. "Sub-Commander Vela," he called out. "Analysis. Now." Vela was his chief science officer. A thin female with quick eyes and a brilliant mind. She had been studying the readings since the attack began. Now she approached the commander, with obvious fear. "Commander, I have analyzed the weapon signatures. The humans are using directed gravitational manipulation to stop projectiles in flight. Their primary weapons appear to be focused quantum disruption beams. These technologies are theoretical. The Dominion has not developed them. No species in our records has developed them. Then how do the humans have them?" Vela hesitated. "I do not know, Commander. But I believe our intelligence assessment was wrong. Earth is not a Level 2 civilization. They may be Level 5 or higher, possibly more advanced than the Dominion itself." Silence fell over the bridge. The officers looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They had come here expecting easy conquest. Now they were facing an enemy with weapons they could not understand. One of the junior officers spoke up nervously. "Commander, perhaps we should withdraw. Report back to the High Council. Return with a larger fleet." Torak turned to look at him. The junior officer went pale and stepped back. "Withdraw?" Torak said softly. "Run away from primitives? Tell the High Council that I lost 50 ships to a planet we classified as weak? Commander, I only meant..." Silence. Torak stood up. His full height was impressive. Nearly 3 meters tall. His scarred face was twisted with anger. I have conquered 12 worlds. I have never retreated. I will not start today. He turned to his tactical officer. Order the full fleet to attack. All 800 ships. Maximum firepower. We will overwhelm their defenses with sheer numbers. Commander, Vela interrupted. That may not be wise. We do not understand their capabilities. If we lose the entire fleet, we will not lose, Torak snarled. They destroyed 50 ships. They cannot destroy 800. We will crush them with the weight of our armada. Attack. Now, the tactical officer sent the command. Across the fleet, 800 warships powered up their engines and weapons. They began moving toward Earth in a massive wave, spreading out to make targeting difficult. It was the largest assault force the Dominion had ever sent against a single world. It was enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. Commander Torak was certain it would be enough. He was wrong. On Earth, Dr. Minji watched the fleet advance. She was the architect of Earth's defense network. 60 years old, with gray hair and gentle eyes behind thick glasses. She looked like someone's grandmother, but her mind had designed weapons that could break empires. She stood in the command center beside General Do-hyun and Captain Yuna. Her expression was sad as she watched the red dots moving on the screen. They are bringing everyone, she said quietly. All 800 ships. Can we stop them? Captain Yuna asked. Dr. Minji nodded slowly. Yes. But it will be ugly. So many deaths. So much destruction. I wish they had turned back. They were given a choice, General Do-hyun said. They chose to attack. They chose this fate. I know, Dr. Minji sighed. It does not make it easier. Admiral Sunho's voice came through the communicator. He was commanding the orbital response from his station above the Pacific Ocean. General, the fleet is advancing. 300,000 kilometers and closing. What are your orders? General Do-hyun looked at Dr. Minji. She met his eyes and gave a small nod. Admiral, the general said. Execute Phase 2. Let them get close. We want none of them to escape. Understood, General. Preparing the array. Captain Yuna frowned. The array? What is that? Dr. Minji smiled sadly. Something I hoped we would never have to use. Something that will end this battle in moments. She paused. And something that will change everything. ADM. Once the galaxy sees what humanity can do, nothing will ever be the same. The red dots kept advancing. 800 ships, carrying millions of soldiers, armed with enough weapons to burn the world. They thought they were going to conquer Earth. They were flying into a trap from which none of them would escape. The Dominion Armada moved through space like a great wave of death. 800 warships spread across thousands of kilometers, their weapons glowing with terrible energy. The sight would have terrified any species in the galaxy. It was meant to terrify. The Dominion did not just conquer worlds. They crushed the spirit of their enemies before the first shot was fired. Commander Torak stood on his bridge, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport. The blue planet looked peaceful, defenseless. He could see the lights of cities on the night side, millions of humans living their small lives, unaware that their world was about to become property of the Dominion. Fleet status, he demanded. All ships in attack formation, Commander. Weapons at full power. We will be in optimal firing range in 12 minutes. Torak nodded. 12 minutes until he burned their cities. 12 minutes until he proved that no primitive species could stand against the might of the Dominion. Sub-Commander Vela approached him carefully. Commander, may I speak? What is it? The humans are not responding. They have not fired since they destroyed the Vanguard. They are not attempting to communicate. They are not trying to flee. She paused. This concerns me. They are afraid, Torak said dismissively. They used their secret weapon and it was not enough. Now they know they cannot stop us all. They are waiting to die. Perhaps, Vela said. Or perhaps they are waiting for something else. Torak turned to look at her. You think this is a trap? I think we do not understand what we are facing, Commander. That weapon they used, it should not exist. If they have one impossible weapon, they may have others. Torak considered her words. Vela was smart. She had saved his life twice with her warnings. But he could not turn back now. The fleet was committed. His reputation was at stake. If he retreated from a level 2 world, he would be the joke of the Empire. We continue the attack, he said firmly. But increase shield strength to maximum. All ships prepare for heavy resistance. The order went out across the fleet. Shields powered up to their highest settings. Point defense systems activated to shoot down any missiles or projectiles. The Dominion was taking no chances. It would not help them. On Earth, the clock was ticking. Admiral Sunho commanded the orbital defense network from his station above the ocean. He was in his 50s, a calm man with a shaved head and steady hands. He had served in the military for 30 years. He had never seen actual combat. Humanity had been at peace for a long time. That peace was about to end. Admiral, the enemy fleet will enter the kill zone in 8 minutes, reported his tactical officer. Understood. Are all array satellites in position? Yes, sir. 47 satellites across the inner solar system. All showing green. Ready to fire on your command. Sunho nodded. The array was Dr. Minji's masterpiece. It had taken 20 years to build in secret. 47 satellites, hidden among asteroids and space debris, each one carrying a weapon that could cripple a star. Together, they could do something even more impressive. They could kill an entire fleet in a single moment. The principle was simple, though the technology was incredibly advanced. Every starship used exotic matter in their reactors to generate power. The array created a disruption field that destabilized exotic matter. When activated, every reactor in the field would suffer immediate containment failure. Every ship would explode from within. Admiral, another officer spoke up. I am reading strange energy signatures from several ships in the enemy fleet. They may be scanning us. Let them scan. They will not understand what they are seeing until it is too late. Sunho opened a channel to the ground command center. General Do-hyun, the array is ready. The enemy fleet will be in position in 7 minutes. Requesting final authorization. 10. General Do-hyun's voice came back immediately. Authorization granted, Admiral. You may fire when ready. Make sure none of them escape. Understood, General. None will escape. Sunho closed the channel and looked at his crew. They were young. Most of them. They had trained for this. But training was not the same as the real thing. In a few minutes, they would kill millions of enemy soldiers. That was a heavy burden. Listen to me, Sunho said. What we are about to do is terrible. Taking lives is always terrible, even the lives of enemies. But these invaders came here to enslave us. They came to take our freedom, our families, our future. We did not start this fight. We are only finishing it. His crew nodded. Their faces were determined. Today we protect our home, Sunho continued. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will never be conquered. Be proud of what you are about to do. Be proud, but never enjoy it. That is how we stay human. He turned back to his display. 6 minutes now. The enemy fleet was getting closer. He could see their formation clearly. Hundreds of ships moving in coordinated patterns. They were professional. They were experienced. They were very good at what they did. But they had never faced anything like the array. Commander Torak felt his confidence returning as Earth grew larger. The humans had not fired again. Their orbital stations were silent. Their moon bases showed no activity. Perhaps Vela was wrong. Perhaps the Vanguard's destruction had been their only trick, and now they had nothing left. 5 minutes to firing range, announced his tactical officer. All ships prepare to fire on my command. Target their population centers first. I want them to see their cities burn before we demand Surrender. The fleet adjusted its aim. Thousands of weapons locked onto Earth's largest cities. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Cairo. In minutes, millions of humans would die. But in the command center beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Minji was watching the clock. "They are in position," she said quietly. Captain Yuna looked at the main screen. The red dots representing the enemy fleet had entered a sphere marked in blue. The kill zone. All 800 ships are in the array's range. "Then this is over," General Do-hyun said. He opened a channel to Admiral Sunho. "Admiral, you are authorized to fire." "Understood, General." In space, 47 satellites that looked like harmless debris came to life. They did not fire beams or missiles. They simply hummed with power, creating an invisible field that spread across thousands of kilometers. The field touched the Dominion fleet, and the fleet began to die. On the flagship Times, Eternal Conquest, **, alarms suddenly screamed. Commander Torak spun around as his bridge erupted in chaos. "Commander, reactor containment is failing." "What?" "The reactor is destabilizing. I cannot stop it. We have less than 30 seconds. Torak looked at his tactical display in horror. Every ship in his fleet was showing the same warning. Every single ship. 800 reactors, all failing at the same moment. "No," he whispered. "No, this cannot be happening." He looked out the viewport at Earth. The blue planet floated peacefully in space, unchanged, untouched. No weapons were firing. No missiles were flying. The humans were just watching. They were watching his entire fleet die. "What are you?" Torak whispered. "What are you people?" The Times Eternal Conquest Times exploded. 800 ships exploded with it. The combined blast was so bright that it could be seen from Earth's surface, a flash of light in the daytime sky that made people stop and look up in wonder. Then silence. The Dominion Armada was gone. Not one ship remained. Not one escape pod. Not one survivor. 800 warships and millions of soldiers, erased in less than 4 seconds. Admiral Sunho stared at his display. Where hundreds of red dots had been, there was now only empty space. "All targets destroyed," his tactical officer reported. His voice was shaking. "No survivors detected." Sunho closed his eyes for a moment. It was done. Humanity was safe. But the cost. So many lives ended in an instant. "Begin cleanup operations," he ordered quietly. "Collect all debris for study. I want no evidence left behind. This battle never happened." On the ground, Captain Yuna let out a breath she had been holding. She looked at General Do-hyun, then at Dr. Minji. "We won," she said. "Yes," Dr. Minji said softly. "We won. But this is not the end, Captain. This is only the beginning." She was right. Humanity had just destroyed an Imperial Armada. The galaxy would never be the same. The silence after the battle was heavy. Where 800 warships had been, there was now only dust and darkness. The Dominion fleet had crossed the galaxy to conquer Earth. They had brought enough firepower to destroy planets. And humanity had erased them in 4 seconds. In the command center beneath the Himalayas, no one spoke for a long moment. The screens showed empty space. The sensors detected nothing but drifting particles where the Armada had been. It was over. Completely and totally over. General Do-hyun was the first to break the silence. Officers around the room began calling out. Defense platforms were intact. Orbital stations were undamaged. The moon bases were secure. Earth had not received a single scratch. The greatest invasion force in Dominion history had not even fired one shot. "Sergeant Hyun," the general called out. "What did you record?" Sergeant Hyun was stationed at a monitoring base in Busan. His job was to capture all communications from the enemy fleet. He looked pale as he answered through the communicator. "Sir, I recorded everything, including the final transmission from the enemy flagship. I recorded CUT. Play it. The room went quiet as Hyun transmitted the recording. There was chaos first, alarms and shouting in the alien language. Then a single voice, speaking in a tone of complete disbelief. "What are you people?" Then static. Then nothing. Captain Yuna shivered. Those were Commander Torak's last words, the last thing he ever said before his ship exploded. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had never been defeated. And in the end, he died without understanding what had killed him. He never knew, she said softly. He never understood. No, Dr. Minji agreed. The Dominion's intelligence was 50 years out of date. They thought we were still using chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They never imagined we had surpassed them. May sure. And well so, General Do-hyun nodded grimly. Their mistake. But now, we must think about what comes next. He pulled up a star map on the main screen. The Dominion's territory was marked in red, spreading across 3,000 star systems. Earth was a tiny blue dot at the edge of the map, so small it was almost invisible. The Dominion will notice when this fleet does not return, the general said. They will send scouts to investigate. When they learn what happened, they will respond. Will they send another fleet? Yuna asked. Maybe. Or, maybe they will try to negotiate. Or maybe they will decide Earth is too dangerous and try to destroy us from a distance. Do-hyun shook his head. We do not know enough about them to predict their response, but we must be ready for anything. Dr. Minji stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. There is another option, General. We do not have to wait for them to come to us. Everyone turned to look at her. She pulled up a new image on the screen. It was a ship, sleek and powerful, with lines that were clearly not of Earth design. 50 years ago, we captured a Dominion scout ship, she explained. We studied it. We learned how their faster-than-light drives work, and we improved on them. She smiled slightly. We have been building our own ships in secret. A small fleet, hidden on the far side of Mars. They are faster than anything the Dominion has, and they carry weapons that make our orbital defenses look like toys. Captain Yuna stared at the image. We have starships? Actual starships? 7 of them, enough to strike anywhere in the galaxy and return before the enemy knows what happened. General Do-hyun studied the image carefully. You are suggesting we go on the offensive. I am suggesting we show the Dominion that attacking Earth has consequences. If we destroy one of their forward bases, they will think twice before sending another fleet, or they will be angry and send 10 fleets. Perhaps, but hiding here and waiting for them to attack again is not a good plan either. They will keep coming until they win, or until we make them stop. The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. Earth had won an incredible victory today. But the Dominion was vast. They had ruled the stars for 500 years. They would not accept this defeat quietly. Admiral Sunho's voice came through the communicator from orbit. General, Dr. Minji is right. I have studied the Dominion's history. They respect only strength. If we hide after this victory, they will see it as weakness. They will come back with everything they have, but if we strike their base, then they will know that attacking us means losing more than one fleet. They will know that we can hurt them anywhere. Sunho paused. They may still come back, but they will be more careful. And careful enemies make more mistakes. General Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. His whole life had been devoted to defense. Building walls, creating shields, protecting Earth from the threats beyond the stars. Going on offense felt strange to him, but defense alone would not save humanity forever. I will present this option to the Council, he said finally. The decision must be made by our leaders, not by soldiers. The cleanup took 3 days. Automated drones swept through the space where the battle had happened, collecting every piece of debris. Nothing could be left behind. No evidence that the Dominion fleet had ever existed. When their scouts came looking, they would find only empty space and silence. Lieutenant Jiwoo supervised the operation from Aegis 7. She had not slept much since the battle. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those 50 cruisers disappearing, erased by the weapons she had activated. She told herself it was necessary. She told herself it was them or us. But that did not make it easier. Lieutenant, one of her officers reported, "We have recovered an intact data core from the enemy flagship. It was protected by a reinforced container." Jiwoo felt her heart beat faster. A data core. That meant information, enemy plans, star maps, maybe even details about the Dominion's weaknesses. "Send it to Dr. Minji immediately," she ordered. "That might be the most important thing we have found." The data core was transported to Earth and delivered to Dr. Minji's laboratory. She spent 2 days studying it, breaking through the encryption and translating the alien language. When she was finished, she called a meeting with General Do-hyun and Captain Yuna. "I have learned much from this data core," she said. "The Dominion is even larger than we thought. They control over 3,000 star systems. They have enslaved dozens of species. Billions of beings live under their rule, forced to work in mines and factories." "Slaves?" Yuna said with disgust. "Yes. The Dominion does not believe in equality. They believe that strong species have the right to rule weak species. Every civilization they conquer becomes property." General Do-hyun's face was dark. "That is what they planned for us. Yes, humanity would have become slaves. Our children would have grown up in chains." "Doctor," Minji paused. "But there is more. I have found records of resistance movements within the Dominion. Enslaved species trying to fight back. They are small and scattered, but they exist." "Resistance movements?" Yuna leaned forward. "Other species are fighting the Dominion? Other species? Other species? Trying to. They do not have weapons like ours. They are crushed every time they rise up." Minji looked at both of them. Seriously. But if they had help, General Do-hyun understood what she was suggesting. "You want us to become liberators. Antu, I want us to consider it. We have power that no one else in the galaxy possesses. We can protect ourselves easily, but we can also free others. Billions of beings living as slaves, waiting for someone to help them." Yuna thought about the aliens who had come to enslave her world. She had no sympathy for the Dominion, but the enslaved species were different. They were victims, just as humanity would have been. "This is bigger than just defense," she said slowly. "Yes," Dr. Minji agreed. "That is exactly what it is about." General Do-hyun stood up and walked to the window. He could see the mountains outside, snow-capped and ancient. Earth was so beautiful, so worth protecting. But protecting was not enough anymore. Not when they had the power to do more. "I will present everything to the Council," he said. "The data, the options, all of it. They must decide what humanity's role in the galaxy will be." He turned back to face them. "Whatever they decide, everything changes from today. The universe has noticed us now, and we cannot go back to hiding." The United Earth Council met in a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps. Leaders from every nation gathered around a great table, their faces serious. They had been briefed on everything: the invasion, the battle, the complete destruction of the Dominion Armada. And now, they had to decide what to do next. President Eun-ji of Korea sat at the head of the table. She was in her late 50s, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had led her nation through difficult times, but nothing had prepared her for this. "Let me be sure I understand," she said carefully. "An alien empire sent 800 warships to enslave our planet. We destroyed their entire fleet in 4 seconds. And now, we must decide how to respond." "That is correct, President," General Do-hyun confirmed. He stood at the front of the room with Dr. Minji and Admiral Sunho. "The Dominion will notice when their fleet does not return. We have perhaps 6 months before they send scouts to investigate. We have perhaps, and when they learn what happened, they will see us as a threat. A serious threat. They have never lost a fleet like this. Their response could be anything from negotiation to full-scale war. The room buzzed with worried voices. World leaders whispered to their advisors. The situation was terrifying. Humanity had won one battle, but the Dominion controlled 3,000 star systems. If they decided to crush Earth, could even humanity's weapons stop them? Admiral Sunho stepped forward. Council members, I understand your fears. The Dominion is vast and powerful, but we have advantages they do not know about. Our weapons are superior. Our ships are faster. If we act wisely, we can protect Earth and possibly change the balance of power in the galaxy. What do you suggest? Asked the Prime Minister of Japan. A show of strength. We send one of our ships to the Dominion's nearest forward base. We destroy it completely. We make them understand that attacking Earth has consequences. That could start a war, warned the President of Brazil. War is already coming. Sunho replied. We did not ask for it. We did not invite them here. But they came, and now they will not leave us alone. Our choice is not between war and peace. It is between war on our terms or war on theirs. The room fell silent. It was a harsh truth, but no one could argue with it. The Dominion had made their intentions clear. Humanity would be slaves, or humanity would fight. There was no third option. Elder Advisor Bora raised her hand. She was the oldest person in the room, nearly 90 years old, with white hair and a gentle face. She had served on the council for 30 years and was respected by everyone. May I speak? Please, Elder, President Unji said. Bora stood up slowly. Her body was frail, but her voice was strong. I have listened carefully to everything. General Do-hyun speaks of defense. Admiral Sunho speaks of attack. Both are thinking about how to protect Earth. This is good. This is right. But I think we must also ask a different question. She looked around the room at all the leaders. Dr. Minji's data tells us that the Dominion has enslaved billions of beings. Dozens of species live in chains, forced to serve their conquerors. They have no weapons to fight back. They have no hope of freedom. They are waiting for someone to help them. 40 noun. She paused to let her words sink in. We now have power that no one else in the galaxy possesses. We can destroy enemy fleets in seconds. We can travel faster than light. We can strike anywhere and escape before they respond. This power was built to protect ourselves. But now that we have it, what do we owe to others? The room was completely silent. Everyone was thinking about her words. We did not choose to be powerful, Bora continued. The universe forced it upon us. But power brings responsibility. If we can free the enslaved, and we choose not to, what does that make us? Are we any better than the Dominion? President Unji looked troubled. What you are suggesting? It would mean taking on the entire empire, not just defending Earth, but actively liberating other species. That is a massive commitment. Yes, Bora agreed. It is, but I believe humanity is capable of it. I believe we are good enough to do this. Not because we want power or glory, but because it is right. General Do-hyun spoke up. Elder Bora, I have spent my life building defenses. My job is to protect Earth, not to fight wars of liberation. But, he paused, struggling with his words. When I saw that data about the enslaved species, I felt sick. I thought about what would have happened to our children if we had lost. If we have the power to prevent that suffering for others, then maybe we should use it. Admiral Sunho nodded slowly. If we go to war with the Dominion anyway, we might as well fight for something worth fighting for. Freedom is worth fighting for. President Unji looked around the table at the other leaders. She saw uncertainty on many faces. But she also saw something else. Determination. Pride. A willingness to do what was right, even though it was hard. "Let us vote," she said. "Do we send a message to the Dominion? Do we tell them that their time of conquest is over?" One by one, the leaders voted. The result was unanimous. Humanity would fight. Not just for themselves, for everyone. 3 months later, a single ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Dominion's capital system. The ship was called the Times Dawn Asterisk. It was small compared to Dominion vessels, sleek and silver, with lines that seemed to flow like water. Inside, a crew of 50 humans manned their stations. They were calm. They were ready. Captain Yuna sat in the command chair. She had been chosen to lead this mission because of her skill and her steady nerves. She looked at her crew and felt proud. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies. Every world in this system." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Yuna took a deep breath. What she was about to say would change history. "Attention, Galactic Dominion. This message is for your High Council, and for every species under your rule. We are humanity. Your empire sent a fleet of 800 warships to conquer our world. That fleet no longer exists." She let those words sink in before continuing. "We are not here to negotiate. We are here to inform you. The age of the Galactic Dominion is over. Every species you have enslaved will be freed. Every world you have taken will be restored. You have one cycle to begin releasing your slave populations. If you do not, we will dismantle your empire system by system. This is not a threat. It is a schedule. All." She nodded to the communications officer, who ended the transmission. The bridge was quiet. Everyone knew what they had just done. They had declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. There was no going back now. "Captain," the sensor officer reported, "Dominion ships are moving to intercept us. 12 heavy cruisers. Let them come." Yuna smiled slightly. "Give them a demonstration of what they are dealing with." The Times Dawn Asterisk weapons activated. 12 beams of light lanced out. 12 Dominion cruisers stopped existing. "Return to Earth," Yuna ordered. "Our job here is done." The Times Dawn times vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind only empty space and a message that would shake the galaxy. On Earth, life continued as normal. Students went to school. Farmers worked their fields. Children played in parks and laughed with their friends. Most people had no idea how close they had come to slavery. They did not know about the battle in orbit or the fleet that had been destroyed. They did not know that their species had just declared war on an interstellar empire. But they were safe. And they would stay safe. Captain Yuna stood on the observation deck of Aegis 7, watching the stars. Lieutenant Jiwoo stood beside her. They had become friends over the past months, bonded by the experiences they had shared. "Do you think they will surrender?" Jiwoo asked. Yuna considered the question carefully. "I do not know. Maybe, maybe not. But it does not matter." "What do you mean?" "We are not going back to hiding. We are not going to wait for the next fleet, or the one after that. For 50 years, humanity prepared to defend ourselves. We built walls and shields and waited for enemies to come." She shook her head. "That time is over. Now we are going to make sure no one has to live in fear ever again." "Grover sense," Jiwoo nodded slowly. She understood. Humanity had changed. They were no longer prey waiting to be hunted. They were something else now. Something the galaxy had never seen before. "What do you think we are becoming?" she asked. Yuna looked out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many species waiting to be freed. "We are becoming what we should have been all along," she said. "Protectors. Liberators. The ones who stand up for those who cannot stand for themselves." She smiled, and there was steel in that smile. "The universe thought we were weak. They thought we were primitive. They looked at our little planet and saw easy prey." She paused. They were wrong. They were always wrong. Humanity was never prey. The stars seemed brighter than before. The future seemed bigger than before. We were always the predator, Una said. We were just waiting for the right moment. And across the galaxy, in slave camps and conquered worlds, beings who had lost all hope looked up at the stars. They had heard the message from Earth. They had heard that someone was coming to free them, for the first time in generations. They dared to believe. Humanity was coming, and nothing would stop them.